Ooh, it is your witchy friend Grace from Small World's Big Adventures with a little Spooktober announcement before a review of the maddening game Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. This week and the next 2 weeks, we'll be giving away a game from our personal collection. This week's game is Alice's Missing, a heart-stopping role-playing game about a missing girl. To qualify, you must live in the United States and comment on at least one video this week, October 8th through 14th. We will then randomly choose a winner from the comments. Also, everyone who comments throughout the month, the 1st through the 30th, will be entered to win a brand new copy of Horrified, a maddening cooperative board game with iconic monsters. We will announce the winner by commenting on one of the person's comments and announce on each Sunday's video who has won. The more videos you comment on, the greater your chance to win. So let us know your thoughts on each game. Hi, I'm Gracie, and this is Scott from Small World's Big Adventures. And today we're going to be talking about Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition.
Arkham Horror is a game for 1 to 6 players. It plays in about 2 to 3 hours. It's on the longer end, especially depending on how many players you have. $65. Setup, tear down 15 to 20 minutes. It's definitely on the longer side. There's quite a bit to do there. It's a modular board. It's a bunch of card decks. It's getting your character stuff together. So it'll take you a little bit.
How does Arkham Horror play?
Arkham Horror is a cooperative game. Everybody gets a character with some special abilities and special gear, and you run around the city of Arkham, which is a modular board this time compared to earlier editions. These nasty portals to another world are opening up all over the city, and you've got to shut them down while monsters get disgorged, and you have to fight the monsters. If you can't do that in time, then a powerful monstrous being from H.P. Lovecraft mythos shows up and usually just destroys everything. Or if you can shut them all down, then you can save the day.
With a lot of these Lovecraft games or games in general, it kind of benefits if people take on different roles, like the fighter, the intellectual, the weirdo with a really good power. So we are curious what your go-to role is. I tend to favor either the intellectual or like a healer helper type. What about you?
I kind of bounce around on these depending on who I'm playing with and what role they're going for. When we play with Dez, a lot of times he goes for the monster killer, like heavy fighty types.
How many guns can he have?
Or he goes for somebody who can cast spells. So I kind of usually take the opposite of that roles. These games help having a diverse cast.
They do. So. When we rate games, we do it on a 5-point scale from terrible, bad, mixed, good, all the way up to excellent. And to kick it off, we're going to do player agency. What did you think of player agency?
Player agency is good. In a lot of ways, and through some of this review, I'll compare this to Arkham Horror 2005, which we've previously reviewed. This one isn't quite as unforgiving as that game is, which gives you a little bit more leeway in your choices as you go through the game. You can go and hunt down monsters. You can go and try to shut down portals. You can go to locations where you think you can get new gear or abilities or help. So you have a good amount of things that you do as a character, and it's harder to get locked into making the wrong choice here, which is good.
I also say good, and again, like it's hard to rate this game without comparing it to the previous edition. The previous edition, it felt very much like if you weren't doing your role, you were screwing the team over. And there's less of that. You still want to kind of focus on what your strengths are. But like if you take a turn to kill a monster because you're closest, it's not going to mess up the whole system. Mechanics wise, I said good. There's a lot of dynamics with card drawing and rolling and things like that. But everything flows pretty well, I think.
Again, comparing it to the earlier version, a lot of the stuff is streamlined in this, so it makes the mechanics feel smoother, but there's a lot of mechanics to it. I also said good. The mechanics work real well for running around a city and fighting monsters and shutting down portals, but do understand this is a more complex game as well. So if you don't like that, then you might not rate it quite as high as I do. But I generally like a game like that when the rules are set up well and you don't have to do a lot of referring back to the rules after playing a couple of games. And I feel like this fits in that pretty
for sure.
Pretty good.
Components wise, I think it's good. Um, it is still a little dated of a game, so instead of like figures, there's standees. They do actually offer you some little like boxes to put different things in.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's more good than the last one, but it still falls in that good realm for me.
Yeah, I also said good. Kind of the same complaint. Um, you're hitting a price point that's above $65, and there aren't any miniatures.
No.
And for modern games, that's almost becoming unforgivable, depending on the type of game you are. But the board is a modular board with double-sided stuff, so you can change. It changes from game to game. There's a bunch of different scenarios. The cards are all good. The art is excellent. The standees are fine. So I did rate the components good, with the caveat of probably should be getting miniatures at this point for at least the characters.
Yeah.
But as part of that good, there's a bunch of different characters though.
So many characters.
I also, in a way, understand why there aren't.
Yeah.
But again, when you compare it to some other more modern games, they're not there.
Yeah. Theming, I said good. It is part of the H.P. Lovecraft world. It very much has that feel throughout. If you've played any other games or read the books or any of that stuff, like it feels on brand. But you said excellent.
Said excellent. Again, in some ways, comparing it to the 2000 version, it does do a good job of, there's monsters, and the monsters are scary, and the problem, and the portals are a problem, and it's doom and gloom throughout the city, and you're running around. Compared to Lovecraft stories as characters, you actually are a little more powerful than most of the characters, who end up almost always in a bad way in his stories. And it's easy to lose this game too. The big thing with this is there's more of a storytelling aspect to this than kind of the previous games. The great old ones kind of come with their own scenario type of thing, and you set up the city different depending on which one you're playing against, and there's cards that kind of add to their theming in the game. So each game kind of feels different too, which is great.
Enjoyability, I said good. It is still a longer game. It still has a high risk of failure. But despite that, the world is lovely. I mean, I shouldn't enjoy the risk of the world getting eaten by a giant demon as much as I do. But I do. But the only time I wince during it is when that one poorly named demon comes out. But, he is a creature of his time. But it is good. If someone said, let's play this, if I had the time, I would definitely play it.
I rated excellent. This almost certainly sits up there among my top 5.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a Fantasy Flight game, and they do a ton of different Lovecraft games. They're the ones who put out 2005, and this feels like mechanics wise and theming wise and game wise almost top of their craft. Like they've been honing literally this version of this game for decades now at this point, and it's a joy to play pretty much every time. Especially compared to the 2005 version, you don't get, or at least not nearly as bad, the steamrolling effect of you could mess up early on and just sit there watching as the game is getting harder and harder and more impossible to win, and still have spent a good 2 hours basically losing the game. This one, if you're going to lose, it tends to come later in the game anyways, and it isn't quite as harsh. So it doesn't feel like you've wasted a whole lot of time just slowly losing. You'll just kind of lose quicker all at once, sort of. But it plays. It's fun. I really like the world that they've set up for this, and enjoy playing it.
My final thoughts are, again, I can't say it enough. I love the H.P. Lovecraft mythos and those worlds, despite having never read the books. But anything that spawned from the books is great. One of the things that really shines for the components for me is the artwork. First of all, it's just like beautifully drawn. But it does have that like 1920s-ish feel. It's like gritty without being like too dark. It's really well done. And that this is a more approachable version than the prior Arkham Horror, for sure.
and probably of their Lovecraft themed games for Fantasy Flight, probably the most approachable.
Fair.
Still being really complex.
So complex. Again, not a gateway game.
Yeah, yeah.
Not even a gateway game for your more complex board game friends.
Fair. My thoughts, same. I love the Lovecraft mythos, and I really enjoy how it's used here. Is really great. The modular aspect of the board and the more story-driven aspect of this version of the game is also a good step in the right direction. Makes it really enjoyable and makes each game different in a lot of ways. So it doesn't really feel like you're playing the same game over and over again. There's kind of a nostalgia at this point coming back to the Fantasy Flight's version of the Lovecraft mythos after playing a bunch of the games we'll have reviewed. I think 4 of them for this October thing that we're doing. And it just, there is kind of the same characters that you can see over and over again, and how they're used in these different games is just kind of, and it's enjoyable for me. I really enjoy it.
If you like co-op games, especially harder ones, like Pandemic, then you're probably going to like this game. And then again, if you are a fan of the H.P. Lovecraft world, this will probably be a game for you as well.
Yeah, this would be, honestly, of all of the H.P. Lovecraft games that I've played, if you enjoy the mythos, this would be the one I would recommend. Even if it's a little intimidating with its complexity, like play a few games, read the rules, look online a little bit. You'll get help with all that stuff, and you'll finally, like, you'll get it. Like, it's not unapproachable. It's just complex.
It is complex.
And this would be the one I would suggest if that's something you really enjoy. That this is the top of the line, I think, for that.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed our review of this game, you can go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to hear more board game reviews, walkthroughs, gamekeeper tips, DIYs for your tabletop playing, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you hit that notification bell, then the next time we upload, you'll be notified. If there's nothing else. We'll see you next time.
Bye.